Hey everyone, it's Chris Quinones at Resina. Just wanted to check in with you guys about how to decide which foam roller is best for you. I talked to a lot of you about self-care and always recommend using foam rollers and tennis balls in your self-care for self-massage. And a lot of you have asked me how to pick foam rollers. So I wanted to make this video for you and help you out a bit. So I think the first thing to think about before you decide to invest in a foam roller is decide if you're going to be using the foam roller for strengthening work or if you're going to be using it for massage. Foam rollers have really become quite abundant now in gyms and certainly Pilates and yoga studios, and so they're used for a myriad of therapeutic purposes. And usually the round rollers, these full circular rollers here, I have this small 12-inch travel one that I really like. But the full round ones are typically used for massage, and the semicircle or half foam rollers that you'll see are traditionally used more for strengthening and core stabilizing exercises. So first decide which you'll be using it for, and then think about how often you'll be using it. Different materials that foam rollers are made out of will warp at different rates. So depending on how often you're using it, you may need to replace your foam roller, and of course depending on the material it's made from, you might need to replace it every 3 to 6 months. So that kind of brings me to my next tip for you before you buy a foam roller, is to decide what density you should be using. Usually foam rollers nowadays are color coded, usually white being the softest on the spectrum, and a light blue or green like this one here would be the next level in density. And then the black foam rollers are typically the most firm. A lot of these foam rollers are made out of this polyethylene foam, and for the more firm or dense rollers, that foam is processed under really high heat, so it makes it less porous and more dense, so thereby it really produces a bit more sensation when you're rolling on those rollers, but it also provides the durability in terms of how long your roller is going to last. You'll probably want to experiment with different sizes. This one I mentioned earlier is a travel size, so this is 6 inches long, and I believe it's 4 inches in circumference. I could be wrong on that. Standard foam rollers are usually going to be between 4 and 6 inches in diameter, and in length they'll vary, like as small as this 12-inch one for travel, or you can buy them as long as 30 centimeters or 30 inches long, excuse me. So depending on where you're using this in your body, you may want to experiment with different sizes. You know, this small one is really good for me to work my calves, but it's a little bit more tricky for me to work my upper back with this, simply because it's just not very long. So depending on what area, what zone of the body you're trying to target, you can experiment with the different sizes. So I hope those tips help. They'll also range in the budget anywhere from white foam rollers you can typically spend $20, $30 for, and then for some of the more durable foam rollers made out of those more dense materials, you can spend an upwards of $50 to even $75. So experiment. Use foam rollers that they're available at most gyms and studios, and so start experimenting with them and seeing what's right for you. And if you have any comments or questions, leave them down in the box below, and I'll be happy to get back to you. Thank you. Namaste.